Hey, this is Kimberly, and this is the Mommy Project. Thank you so much for joining me this week. The Mommy Project is a podcast that is interactive, meaning that each week I ask a question of you mamas in hopes that it will start conversation amongst your friend group, amongst yourself, and also just with me on social media. I am always looking for new ideas and new ways of kind of thinking, or I just like to hear stories. And so today, this week's episode is about asking the question, or what do you do when you just don't feel like it? And I was thinking about this question because this podcast is something that I've really enjoyed doing, and it's getting to the 3-year mark, basically, of when I originally started the podcast. And there have been so many days or evenings. It's always evenings, really late in the evening after the kids have gone to bed, that I'm like, oh, I need to edit. Oh, I need to post this. Oh, I need to do this. And I'm just like, I don't feel like it tonight. And I put it off. Or, and not just the podcast, but it's anything that I know that I want to do. And, but then there are moments where it gets really hard to kind of put it into practice. And I continue to say, oh, well, I'll do it tomorrow because tonight I'm just not feeling it. And so what do we do when that question comes up in our mind? Because it does. It comes up. I mean, whether it's the small things or something really big, some big goal that we want to accomplish, the starting of it sometimes can feel really scary, or can feel really exciting. Your adrenaline is really pumping, and so you're gung-ho about it, and you're excited. You've started the project or the process of learning how to do whatever it is. And then a few weeks pass, and you're like, no, not tonight. I'll do it tomorrow. And so how do we kind of push through those moments, those thoughts of what do you do when you just don't feel like it, or you're just not feeling it? So that's what this episode is all about. And I'm just going to I'm going to share with you kind of some things that I do to push myself to push myself to continue to do whatever it is, and not let that train of thought procrastinate and keep making me put off whatever it is that I'm really dedicated to doing or prioritizing. So anyway, so asking the question, or when you don't feel like it, what do you do? At the end of the day, there's an entire list of things that I could put under that. I just don't feel like it. I'm not feeling it. I don't feel like making supper again. I do not feel like doing another basket of laundry. I don't feel like reading my kids a story. I don't feel like praying with them. I just want them to go to bed. I don't feel like spending time with or calling up a friend, even though I know that it will be very beneficial for me. I don't feel like exercising. I don't feel like eating right. I don't feel like going to church. I don't feel like getting up early. I don't feel like blah, blah, blah. Just fill in the blank. And chances are I have said it to myself so many times. And the problem with that thought is it can become more routine, and it can become also tricky in figuring out, well, am I just being lazy, or am I just really tired? And that could actually be put off to the next day. So trying to figure out what is important and what could actually be put off to the very next day is something that you can help you with that question. So I asked my husband, and I'm sorry I'm out of breath a little bit, but it is 1,000 degrees outside in June in Louisiana, and I am 35 plus weeks pregnant, and so I do tend to get a little bit out of breath. So please bear with me. Again, I don't feel. Sometimes I'm like, I don't feel like being pregnant anymore. I'm over it. And so that might be another reason why you're asking yourself that question, is because where you're at in your life, your health or your mental health, or whatever it is, could be a factor in. That is the number one question you tend to ask whenever you really want to meet this goal, or you really want to start this hobby or practice this or whatever, and you just continue to kind of lapse into that, well, I'm just not feeling it, so I'll do it tomorrow. And so I asked my husband what he does, because I know that he has got to feel like, I don't feel like going to work today, or I don't feel like, editing another video, or going to take photography, or a lot of things. I don't feel like playing with my kids today. I just got home from work and I'm tired. I just want to sit down and on the couch and just do this. But he probably lives one of those like really intentional lives, whether he realizes it or not. And I'm not bragging because he's my husband, but whereas I struggle with going with my feelings, he's got a lot more self-discipline than I do, a lot more. And some of it has to do with his upbringing. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he was an athlete all growing up into college, and then he went and played professional ball. And so having that self-discipline, just that behavior manifested in your life from such an early age, carries on into your adulthood a lot of times. And it also could be personality. But still, all that to say, we still have a choice. We still have a choice to decide, okay, do I really want to do this thing, or do I not want to do it? And so I asked him, I'm like, are there any tricks that you do whenever you're you've gone on a trip and you've shot a lot of footage, and you come home and you're really tired and you know that you need to edit? Is there something that you tell yourself or you do because I know that you're tired and you don't want to do it, but you do it anyway? Or you go out in 100-degree weather and do hill repeats on your bike, knowing that, and you just got home from work, knowing that you don't feel like it, but you continue to do it. How do you trick yourself into doing it? And so he goes, well, first of all, I just kind of, first of all, he said, first of all, I just kind of just do it. I'm like, well, that's not helping, because most of us are not that hardcore. So give me some tricks, some tips. Tell me what you do, because I know that most of us out here are not the high energy, real intense, super driven, super ambitious, every moment kind of counts type of people. But we do have dreams. We have goals. We want to do things. We don't want to be lazy, or we want to stop procrastinating. So we need some mental tricks to kind of get us over that hump. And he said, well, he goes, well, there's always tomorrow. And so like most of the time when people start a diet, when do they say that they're going to start? And I'm like, well, they'll say most of the time they'll be sitting around the table and they're like, well, I'll start the diet tomorrow. Well, then tomorrow comes and it doesn't really work out the way that you want to. And so you'll say the next day, oh, I'll start the next day. I'll say, I'll start tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. And what happens is we continue to say that, and so we continue to put things off. And so he's that's what he was explaining. And I'm like, well, okay. And so then he said, well, I evaluate, well, is it something that is a priority? Like something that has to be done and I would rather do it right now so that I can sleep in, or I can relax the next day, or I can move on to something else? Or is it something that can wait? And so understanding what it is can help you get over that hump. So for example, with me, laundry is not really a big priority. Now I don't have any trouble washing the clothes and putting the clothes in the dryer most of the time. It's the folding of the laundry that continues to be put off to the next day and to the next day. And then a week goes by and no one has clean underwear. And so then it's like, okay, I need help, or everyone in the living room to help me. And that could be completely chaos because I've got mostly little kids and their help is not really good help. Or I just buckle down and listen to a podcast or listen to a book or something, or listen to some good music and then get it done. But that is something that I don't mind putting it off. Another thing that I continue to put off to the last minute is grocery shopping. I absolutely hate to grocery shop. Like, hate it with a vengeance. And I don't know if I've always been this way. I don't think I've ever really particularly enjoyed it. But now that I have children, I really hate it. Like, super hate it. And I know there is grocery store pickup and all that. But I put it off so badly that I'm so lazy about it that I don't even get on the app and do all that. Because first of all, I'd spend way too much money. And we're on a kind of a cash envelope. I mean, it's not super Dave Ramsey, but we're on a kind of a grocery budget. So I know what I need to spend each week. And so I'll wait until we're absolutely out of everything. And I'm not even being facetious or exaggeratory with this. We're out of everything. And so that is something that can put a lot of stress on you when you wait to the last minute and you have nothing to cook for supper again. And you're trying to scramble around. Do I have anything that I can make? I am on Pinterest a lot. Like last night I made dairy-free cornbread because we only had 2 eggs and we had no milk in the house. And I did have some butter. But yeah, I'm constantly on Pinterest looking up recipes of how do I make this, but without these ingredients, because I don't have these ingredients. It's terrible. But other things that I push through, and like you said, you evaluate your priorities, see what is important, what must be done today, or what doesn't really you don't need to get into the habit of putting off. And then what can wait. And so something that I have found for me, for example, I want to get this podcast started up again. So I know that if I continue to put off, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll record tomorrow, or I'll edit tomorrow, or I'll get pictures or do my blog tomorrow. What happens is Sunday night, it's crunch time, and I'll have to stay up until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning getting all of it done. Well, that's very stressful. And so, and that's probably another reason why it led to a lot of burnout. And I took such a long break doing the podcast, is because I was doing multiple episodes a week. And, I had a lot of variables going on, but the waiting to the last minute will result eventually in quitting. And so if you continue to ask that of yourself and you continue to give yourself kind of a break and say, I'll do it tomorrow, you're on the road to quitting altogether. I really believe that. And so the podcast or any kind of big project that I've had, it's a priority. Being an intentional parent is a priority most of the time. Am I perfect at it? Do I always hit home runs with it? Absolutely not. Do I always read stories late at night? No, they get stories during the day. They go to bed at night. Because also knowing are you setting yourself up for failure? I mean, that kind of leads me to that point is, are you setting yourself for failure by choosing a time of day or choosing a time of the year or season when you start? And I mean, I know I'm not saying anything completely brilliant. There's so many productivity books out there that you could get your hands on that will give you lots of science and lots of stats and lots of research behind, how to be more productive. And that's not what this episode's really about. It's just kind of sharing with you, what do I do when I'm tired, but I know I want to not get into that slippery slope of I'll put it off to tomorrow. And so for me, if I have a priority, I want to read to my children every single day. I know I can't wait till the last minute. I can't wait till the very end of the day to do it. Whoever out there started the bedtime routine and said that you should always read to a child at night, must not have had a lot of kids or had a bizarre amount of energy, or might have been a night person. I don't even know. They were crazy. They were mean-spirited, I think, because most of us mamas out here, the bedtime routine is probably the hardest part of the day. We're super tired. We've done everything else. We've probably knocked everything else out of the park. We've been on, and then about 7 o'clock or whenever it happens, things can quickly get derailed very quickly because we're exhausted and they're tired and we're just over it. And so for me, if I want to read to my children every day, I read to them earlier in the day. If I get to a story at night because I just happen to feel more energetic, great. But it is not a rule in our house. And our children do ask because they like to prolong bedtime. They like to have an extra glass of water or extra drink. They all of a sudden need to go to the bathroom at least 3 times before they go to bed. They pray extra long prayers. I mean, they are masters at delaying bedtime, and I'm just like drained. And so I don't put that pressure on me. I mean, they get a story, great, but most of the time they're going to get it during the day. Something else that I know is a priority is exercise. For me, and I mean, most of us, we have exercise goals or nutrition or some kind of mental health goals or friendship, whatever it is. We have these big things that we know are going to be hugely beneficial to us. But then there are going to be moments, or there are going to be many, many, many days where we're not going to feel like doing it. We're not going to feel like committing. We're not going to feel like following through. And so a lot of times for me, and I learned this the lesson very strongly when I was training for the Ironman, because I would say 90% of my training days, I did not feel like doing it. I mean, I was running on steam. A lot of days I was running on sheer willpower. Eventually it becomes habit. So you're kind of relying on, okay, this has become a habit, and I'm going to ignore my feelings. I'm going to push through. I'm going to go out there, put my running shoes on. I don't want to do it. I don't like it. Everything feels bad. Everything hurts, but I'm going to do it anyway. And when you continue to do that, you continue to ignore how you feel in light of your main big, huge goal, you build up that mental strength. And eventually those feelings don't ever go away. I really believe that. I mean, it's still hard to get out there and walk. I know walking is not as strenuous as running 5 miles, but going out there and walking 5 miles or whatever, it's still a commitment. It's still something that I'm like, I know it's going to make me feel better, even though I don't. It's the last thing I want to do. The last thing I want to do is go out and be on my feet for an hour and a half, or waddle out there, in the heat and feel like I have to pee, within 5 seconds. but I know that it will make me feel 1,000% better, and it's healthy for me. And so understanding, your priorities, understanding what is necessary, what is not, can help you figure out and figure out how to answer that question when you say, "Oh, I just don't feel like it," or "What do I do when I'm just not feeling it?" So, and understanding what is a task that's just simply annoying. Sometimes those annoying, irritating, small tasks actually put a lot of stress on us. And it's like, I'll just do it later. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. One of my friends, she was telling me that for the longest time, like maybe 3 months went by, and she knew she needed to change her water filter in her refrigerator. And she just kept putting it off and putting it. She's like, I knew it would only take me about 10 minutes to do it. I mean, it wouldn't take me very long at all, but I just kept putting it off. And I was having to go to the store and buy a lot of water and a lot of water bottles. And I was feeling guilty because of that and because of the environment and this and that. And she said, finally, I can't do it anymore. I'm going to get this stupid chore done. It literally took her less than 10 minutes. And she was so relieved, and she was so that stress that she'd been under, whether she realized it or not, completely evaporated. And so there are a lot of things that we do that kind of pile up, that kind of task piles up on us, and it can actually cause us a lot more stress than we realize, So for me, some of those examples are signing my kids up for swimming lessons. I mean, I've called the instructor and they weren't available to talk. And so, I haven't called them back. And that's been on the must-do list for the summer project list that we have on our refrigerator is get the kids swimming lessons. And here it is, the 1st of July, and I still haven't gotten it done. So again, it's always on my mind. It's kind of stressing me out a little bit, but I still haven't done it, So that's an example of a small task that takes absolutely no time at all, really. But it causes a lot of stress whenever we continue to put it off. And it could be paperwork. It could be canceling a subscription. It could be, even listening to a bunch of podcasts that you want to listen to, all of these to kind of be caught up on your pop culture, and yet they continue to pile up and pile up and pile up. And it's like, well, maybe I just don't want to do that. And that's okay. Maybe I just don't want to pay for the swimming lessons right now, even though I know it's a necessary skill. Maybe evaluating your want to is also something that's really important. But yeah, I mean, knowing what's a priority, knowing what might take you 10 minutes, something that I would encourage you guys to do. And I do this a lot with exercise, whether I'm training for a race or not. I do this. I give myself 10 to 20 minutes. And if I'm not feeling it in 20 minutes, like I don't get over that hump, then I stop. Okay. So for example, when me and my daughter, we were homeschooling this year, if she was like, I don't feel like reading, practicing my reading. Well, either most of the time I would say, okay, we're just going to do 10 minutes. That's it. You can do anything for 10 minutes. I'm going to set the timer. And when that timer goes off, we'll be done with the reading, and you'll be done for the day, and we can move on to something else. Most of the time that worked. Just like, okay, I can do that for that amount of time. Or we went on to something else. We eventually got to the reading, but we didn't do it at that very exact moment. So one of the things that I would suggest you guys do, for example, if your thing is the laundry and it continues to pile up and pile up, set the timer for 10 minutes and just fold as many clothes as you can within 10 minutes. Or cleaning the kitchen, or dusting the freaking fans, or whatever it is, mowing the lawn, reading to your kid, playing with your child with Legos, calling a grandparent that you haven't talked to in a while. And that won't even really be a 10-minute conversation. I mean, it could be, and it could develop into more. It's just getting started. Sometimes those tasks or those goals, those small goals, the hardest thing for them is not in the daily, the ongoing thing. It's just getting started. So those are some things that I would try. Setting the timer for 10 minutes, evaluating what is a priority right this second and what can wait and it not be life-threatening, or completely shatter your goals, and then also what cannot wait, that you just have to be a big kid about it and exercise some self-discipline, get through it, and it'll be done and you won't have to stress about it the next day. So I would love to hear from you, mamas. What is it that you find yourself wanting to do X, and then you also continue to be like, I'm just not feeling it today. Just not feeling it, and you put it off and you put it off. What is something that you've struggled with in that area? Is it diet? Is it exercise? Is it calling a friend? Is it putting your resume out? Sometimes they're really big, and then sometimes it's just the laundry, or it's just the grocery run. And if you're like me, you run out of diapers, and that's when you break. You have to break. It's not the eggs. It's not the milk. It's not even the peanut butter and the sandwich and the bread. It's the diapers that pushes you to the edge, that makes you go and get in your car and drive to the store. So I would love to hear from you. You can find me on Instagram at the Mommy Pro. You can find this episode you can watch it on YouTube. You can listen to it on whatever podcast app you have, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean. Those are some of our favorites here. And then also just share with one of your friends, or yourself or your spouse or whatever. Be like, I really want to do this thing, but I continue to put it off. Why is that? And kind of talk through how you're evaluating and how you're maybe procrastinating or just letting your feelings dictate what you want to do. Can be kind of, you're self-sabotaging yourself by that. So talking it through can kind of help you evaluate that and maybe push you to get out of that slump. So you're doing really good, mamas. I know that you are out there. We are super critical of ourselves, but just know that I just want to be here to encourage you. You're doing a great job. Keep on keeping on. I know that's a cliche, but it's true. And I'd love to hear from you on all the social media. So I hope you guys have an awesome week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.